Welcome to the No Code MBA show. In this episode, I talk with Kyleigh Smith, who is a no-code maker who's built multiple products with no-code tools, as well as an SEO expert. In the episode, you'll learn how Kyleigh has built and launched multiple no-code products. You'll also get actionable tips about how to apply SEO strategies to rank better on Google, which is really important for no-code and indie makers who might not have a large marketing budget to spend on paid ads, but if you can improve your search engine results, you're able to get traffic for free. So it's a really great avenue to think about as an entrepreneur and as an indie maker. If you want to build your own no-code products yourself, be sure to check out No Code MBA's unlimited membership at nocode.mba. Use the code podcast10 for 10% off your No Code MBA membership. Let's go ahead and get into this episode with Kyleigh. Thanks so much for joining.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I know my indie maker history is sort of like all over the place. I've done a little bit of everything. But yeah, talking about SEO would be fun. I think a lot of indies and no code makers don't necessarily think about doing it for their product, or they just like don't know how, so they kind of ignore it. But there's some big opportunity, I think. So that'd be fun to talk about for sure.
Yeah, totally. I have questions myself personally, just selfishly, and I totally agree. I think it's ignored a lot of the time by I think by indie builders, but even like medium to size startups, I think ignore it a lot as well. So that'll be great. One thing that popped into my head as you said that is, and the reason I'm asking is because I have the same issue myself, is when someone asks like what you do, how do you respond given all the different things that you're working on?
It's so hard. Someone just asked me today and I was like panicking because I was like trying to figure out like how do I explain this in like one sentence? And I ended up saying I do like SEO consulting for tech companies. Because this wasn't really like a tech person. But that's obviously not the full story. Like that's sort of what I've been doing to make money since leaving my full-time job. But I'm also like working on Herald and some other side projects. Always playing around with different ideas as well. So it's hard to put it into one sentence. But I usually just say the SEO thing because that's what I'm doing that's actually making money. So I lead with that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it's I feel like I have No Code MBA and another business that I've been running for before No Code MBA and different side projects, and it kind of depends on, I think for me, like maybe the audience, and also sometimes I just play around with it and I just choose one to lead with, and just like I don't usually want to get into it, it depends on
what do you say?
How do you describe your work? I'll talk about No Code MBA. But it kind of depends on the audience. I have another business which is it's like an off-campus meal plan for college students that I've been doing for like 8 or 9 years now. So that's been going on a lot longer. And sometimes I'll talk about that. Sometimes those are like, usually I choose between one of the two. Sometimes I'll talk about both. So it kind of it can just be a lot.
And then their eyes glaze over and they're like, wait, what?
It's too much. You kind of have to pick one. I don't know, but that's why I asked, because maybe there was some secret of how to do it. But I think it's a common issue or it just comes up a lot. People ask what you do.
Yeah. The easiest way is like, oh, I work in tech or something.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Usually I don't. I kind of like that. Like I don't even want to get into like it's, especially if you don't want to like go down all the different things. But on this podcast, we are going to go down all the different things.
Perfect.
But as you'll see, it takes 45 minutes to describe everything and talk about it. So, I guess to start, in terms of kind of no code, or how did you get into no code, or what were you doing at your previous job, and kind of start you down this path of having multiple products and in tech?
Yeah. So I worked in tech. I worked in product design. I was doing like UX design, UI design, and product management for startups for the first like 5 or 6 years of my career. And that was really fun. I loved the startup atmosphere. I liked design. I loved thinking about products. But inevitably, I always had my own ideas, either like for our businesses or our product, or like my own, like just brand new ideas. And it was always a struggle because I could never bring them to life. Like all I knew how to do was like prototype it in Figma or Sketch, and then like try to get buy-in, either from like people on my team, or for like these other ideas I had for side projects, I would try to send them to like my developer friends and try to get them to build it for me. And it just like never worked. Like that, it never went anywhere. And then it was like I started getting on Twitter around 2018, 2019, just starting to build a presence. And then I started just reading more and more about no code, because more people were talking about it. And then it was 2020 pandemic. I'm sure a lot of people have this story. You suddenly had all this extra time. And so I finally started playing around with some of those tools. So I built Herald, which is actually I'm still working on it all this time later, but that was actually my first idea, my first project. He's a SMS based habit tracker. So you say what habits you want to work on. Like I want to meditate. I want a meditation habit. He'll text you every day. Like, did you meditate? Did you meditate yesterday? And you text back yes or no. So it's just really simple text-based experience. So I put that together with no code. And then it was just from there, I just never went back. I felt like I had unlocked this new level where I could now bring things to life. And now it's like I have so many ideas and not enough time to do all of them. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's such a common story of with no code, is just someone who works maybe in tech or adjacent to tech, and you're going to naturally have ideas being in that space, I think. And then once you realize you can do it on your own, it opens up so much. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the other thing was like while I was still at these startups, I even started using no code to like run little experiments. So that, because it's hard just to go to your team, like I have this idea, it's really great. But it's easier if you can go with some data or like an experiment, or you've like de-risked it in some way. So I started using no code in that way too, just to like build a MVP or like a fake landing page or something, to run an experiment. That way I could like go to my team and get some more buy-in. So I think you can use it, while you're still working full time, but also, for entrepreneurial endeavors as well, which is awesome.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think internally,
Yeah,
it's a great use case as well. And like, you don't have to convince a developer to build it for you and take them away from what they're doing, which is going to be difficult for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what no code tools were you using maybe internally, and then how did you build Herald?
Yeah, so I started with since Herald was my first one, that is Airtable, Autocode, and Twilio. So Autocode is sort of this, like, I call it Zapier on steroids. It's a little bit more of like a low code. It kind of does a little bit of both, but Autocode's basically just like connecting all of those things together. And like I have some business logic in there, like when to send certain questions to who. But yeah, it's mostly Airtable, Twilio, and Autocode. And then my landing page, I made with Unicorn Platform.
Yeah.
And so that was like my OG tech stack. And then like MailerLite for emails.
Yeah.
And then for like the internal stuff, I was also using Autocode and Webflow to create like some fake landing pages. And like Typeform is a big one too. Like that's basically my onboarding experience. That's like my front end onboarding for like every product is
Yeah.
just like a type form, which isn't the best, but it works for the MVP at least.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think all those, like, that's the best way. And I think what you described is like, that was my experience as well. As like the first no code project that you build, it's kind of like, gluing these different tools together to make
Yeah.
it do what you want. But it's also really powerful and can actually build something where like the end user would have no idea that there's multiple tools glued together to make it work. It's
Yeah.
seamless on their side.
Yeah. Some of them may know, but yeah.
Yeah.
I always am telling them, like, in the support emails, like, I know it's clunky right now, like I have plans to make it better. Um, so yeah.
And
You
how
gotta
has
deal with the
that
clunkiness for a little bit.
yeah. And how has it gone so far, I guess, in terms of users, or what's worked, what hasn't worked, and what are your future plans with Herald? Or I also see you have RP, which I'm guessing is a similar, same back end and maybe different branding, but yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah. But yeah, I'll start with Harold. So it's been it's been off and on, like both in like how it's been doing and like how much time I've put into it different times. So uh, with indie making, ever since I left my full-time, well, even when I was working full-time, it's this balance of like doing the money making stuff and doing like the side project stuff, the stuff that's
Yeah.
not making money yet, but you hope will someday. And so like there's always that ebb and flow. Like work got really busy, so you can't work on it that much. And I had a full-time job when I started Herald, and then that company shut down. So I had some time to work on it before I got the next job, but then I left that one. So there's just been these periods of like working on it and not working on it.
Yeah.
And then like that sort of ebbs and flows with like how many users you get. Like if you're not really
Yeah.
working on it, like it still gets some coming in, but if I'm not talking about it, if I'm not updating it, it doesn't go anywhere fast. So I think I'll see some numbers. Like total signups is probably like I want to say like probably 2000. Um and that's been really been picking up since. So originally it was just SMS based,
Yeah.
and then earlier this year I added WhatsApp
Yeah.
functionality. So yeah, when it was SMS I could only have US phone numbers and US customers. So WhatsApp
Right.
can work for everybody internationally. So that really opened it up. So there's been more growth recently too. Still figuring out monetization. It's like I think the last time I did the written interview with you, he was at 80 MRR, and he's still about at that point.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing I've been working on recently is these like challenges. So I launched the Dry January challenge, which is like you sign up for Dry January, and it's the same back end as Herald. So you get a question
Right.
every day or text every day during January, like, did you drink today? Yes or no. You respond no, like you're still on the challenge, and you get these fun updates like there's 50 out of 60 people left in the challenge, and like these many people are still dry. And
Yeah.
that I charged $5 for, and had like 60 something people, so that was like 300 like one-time payment. So and then I did the same thing for Sober October. So that's not recurring revenue, but that's a little bit more. So I don't know. I think most people would have given up on it by now because it's not making any money, but people keep finding the landing page and signing up for it and reaching out. Like in those periods when I didn't focus on it as much, like there's still people coming in. Like other projects I've worked on, if I stop doing it, like it completely dies. No one asks me
Right.
about it ever again. But just there's some thread that keeps pulling me back, and it just seems like there's something there. So we're still working on it for better or
Yeah.
worse.
No, I think it's really cool. I also I do really like the idea of like challenges, or um that I could see how that would really engage people, or even if they were like every month, like there's different challenges that you can join. So if you miss whatever, sober October, maybe in November you want to try it, or
Yeah,
I
yeah.
could see that is a really cool angle. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
or maybe in like November it's like a 2-week meditation
right.
challenge. Yeah. Those I think could be good because that has a nice little growth loop too. You know, maybe you want to do the challenge with a friend, so maybe you can like share it and get your friend to
Totally.
sign up too. So, yeah, that's a thread I'm kind of pulling on and seeing if there's something there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. It's cool that I just kind of connected these, but I have a friend who's building a no code app that's also text based. It's called birthdays.app, and it
Cool.
texts you reminders on your friend's birthday. But
That's great. I
it's
love simple products like that. Like they do one thing really well. It's simple. It's not trying to be too many things at once. I love that.
Yeah, exactly. And same thing with Harold. And I think that's also, it's almost what's great about building like an SMS based product is you're
Yeah.
forced to make it simple, right? Because you have to make it work within that setup essentially.
Yeah. And every text costs money pretty much that you
Yep.
send and receive, at least through Twilio, who I use. So yeah, you really have to be smart about that. And even if you use emojis and it's like a certain number of characters, they can charge you for multiple texts. So
Right.
that's a limit of the SMS products for sure, is you have to, it has to be a business model there. And yeah, for Harold it becomes a problem because some people want to, he does have a little bit of AI built in.
Right.
So like when you say yes I meditated, he'll like say something funny back or encouraging.
Yeah.
But then people want to talk to him, like they want to chat, like they want to keep going, and he doesn't work like that. So because it would just be too expensive. Like at that point, it needs to live in an app or a web app or something, because each response is just going to add up. So it becomes a limitation at some point.
Right. It's kind of a limit. And it's more expensive than people might think. It's not like it adds up. It's like real money to the point where people aren't going to probably spend $100 a month on it personally, or whatever it would take to make that actually make sense, I guess.
Right. Yeah. That's my assumption. Yeah. It's like you wouldn't want to pay as much as that would cost. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, cool. Well, it's awesome. I think it's a great idea, and I'm excited to keep following along and seeing where you take it. Um,
Yeah.
so maybe we can shift gears a little bit to SEO, and um, I guess maybe you
Yeah.
can start by talking a little bit about your background in SEO and um, the value of SEO, and maybe some people might not even know what SEO is. So starting there.
Yeah. That's a really good question about how I got into it, because it's sort of random. But yeah, starting from the basics. So SEO is search engine optimization, which in short is really just getting your web page, your product, to the top of Google. So people, or any other search engine, you know, there's Bing, there's Yahoo, there's all these other things. But Google's obviously the biggest one. So you're trying to set up your website in a way so that Google recognizes it as a good website, good content for like whatever given keyword. And then so it's going to show it at the top. We all know we don't look past the first page, or we don't scroll too far on any result when we're searching Google. So you really want to be on the top if you're trying to drive meaningful traffic. So that's the basic premise of it. And how I got into it, super random. I mean, I just started trying to do it for Harold because I felt like I had this product, people were using it, they were retaining really well. Some people were paying for it. So I felt like I had this the second half of the funnel figured out, but I just couldn't get enough people to sign up to like go to my landing page. Because I've never done marketing, like my background's in product and design. So there's been other people that have always
Yeah.
worried about that. So that was a whole new world for me. And I tried a bunch of things like TikTok and PR and like trying to reach out to journalists and stuff. Reddit, like I just tried every growth channel. And so like, and none of them worked. And so finally I was like, hey, SEO is like next on the list of the things I'm going to try. And I just sort of self-taught myself some things and had like not that much success with it. But I was tweeting about my process and like what I was trying to do. And this is so random, my brother's freshman year roommate from college is the head of growth at AdQuick.
Mm-hmm.
And he is like the SEO genius. And he saw my tweets and just like reached out. He was like, hey, let's jump on a call. Like I can help you with all of this stuff. And so we jumped on a call. We did like a 90-minute like crash course. And he just like told me everything he knows. I was like furiously like taking notes and just learned so much. And then I just started applying it and he kind of gave me feedback and helped me along the way. And then I saw these great results. Like I only had time really to do 2 blog posts for Herald. And actually my friend Lewis, another maker on Twitter, helped me with those too. We wrote 2 blog posts and then like my impressions and my clicks like all went up. Like, you know, those graphs you see people post on Twitter, the infamous Google Search Console graphs. I like mine were going up and I got to like screenshot and post it. And yeah, that was sort of the beginning. I felt like I unlocked, okay, like I know how to do this. I know how to actually drive the results and make those graphs go up to the right. So then I started doing it for Llama Life. Marie, she's 3 Hour Coffee on Twitter. She needed help with hers. And I was like, look, I can do this for your business. I just did it with mine. And I was helping her with a couple other things as well, like analytics and things. And did it for her, worked for her, same thing. Like we got great results. And that was better because she had more resources to dedicate to actually developing more content. So I think we wrote 8 or 9 like really solid SEO posts and yeah, had great results. She got like she's getting like 900 more clicks a month now than she was before. And like 165,000 more impressions a month.
Yeah.
So, and that's all set up. Like now she doesn't have to lift a finger. Like she's focused on products. She's doing all this other stuff and she's not having to, you know, work on marketing all of the time. You know, she can have this steady traffic. So, yeah. And then we got results with her. And then other people started reaching out. And so I sort of just stumbled into this consulting business, doing SEO for like indies and bootstrapped founders.
That's awesome. And yeah, it is amazing. Like, if you can get SEO to work, it's like amazing because otherwise you're spending a lot of money on Google to rank for, you know, paid ads, or any other paid channel, right? It's just going to cost a lot of money to get in front of people consistently. So it's kind of like it's just like the ultimate channel if you can get it to work.
Yeah. So it's perfect for bootstrapped companies who don't want to just like spend all that money on ads or like they're still finding product market fit. So they're not ready just to like throw money at it. So yeah, I think it's a great investment for any indie or bootstrapped or like even early stage founder. Because you need a steady stream of users coming in and using your product if you're pre-product market fit. Just to get that feedback and like test your new iterations and all that stuff. So it's such an asset just to have a steady stream of people coming in that are high intent, you know, you've targeted the right keywords and yeah, and then you don't have to worry about it.
Right. Totally. And if you're like an indie hacker, you have a new product, what are like a few things that you might be able to do on your own, or if you're willing to put in the time yourself to at least set yourself up for some success with SEO?
Yeah, so I actually have a guide. It used to be free, but then I was like, this is way too much good stuff to be free. So now it's like $9. Still not a lot.
That's still that's a great deal.
Yeah,
people have to check it out.
Great.
Yeah.
It's a great deal still. Like I'll probably raise it again.
It should be like Yeah, it should probably be 10 times that, really. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I need to revise it. I need to update it, and then I
Yeah.
can charge more for it. This was
Yeah.
sort of just like I pulled a chapter from my book that I wrote, or my ebook that I wrote. So
Yeah.
yeah, it needs some tweaks and then I can charge more. But anyway, so you could point people there. That's definitely if you're trying to do it yourself.
Yeah.
That'll get you started. But I can share like a few things here too. So the first thing, I mean, the main thing is keyword research. Like any SEO strategy is determined by the keywords. At least this is my playbook. There
Yeah.
might be SEO experts that do something different, but it all comes down to the keywords and targeting good ones. So your first step, I think Ahrefs, it's Ahrefs. It's like what a hyperlink is. That's a good tool to use, and I think they have a free version, or maybe it's like a free trial.
Hmm.
So to get started, that's the tool I use. You can look up your current site and see your domain rating, and that will basically tell you like what ballpark you're playing in.
Yeah.
If you're just starting out and you're at like 0 or 1 or 2, that's fine. You'll just have to target a different set of keywords than people that are at 50 or 60.
Yeah.
So first step, like understand where you're at, understand your domain rating, and then start searching in their keywords research tool for keywords related to your business. And you're basically like going down this rabbit hole of keyword research, just trying different words and phrases until you can find one that has generally a low keyword difficulty, but like a good amount of volume that it's still worth going after. So
Right.
usually that's like at least 150 a month. Like this, if you're really just starting out, like I would say you want it to have at least 150 or 200 search volume for it to be worth it.
Right.
Um, and then you also want to look at the top 10. So Ahrefs will show you this too, the top 10 of what's ranking currently. And you can look at the domain ratings of those
Yeah.
results. And so if you're 10 and there's one on there that's an 8, it's like, okay, I could probably beat them. I could probably,
Yeah.
bump them off. And then I also take a look at their content. Like, is their content good? Is this a good page? Is it answering the question in the search intent of this keyword?
Right.
Like basically I'm thinking, can I do better than this?
Right. Can you beat their content and just make it a better result?
Yeah. Either longer, more thorough, covering more topics, or like you have a different spin on it, or it's just updated. Maybe that one is best website conversion tips for 2022. And you're like, oh, I could do 2023, be more
Right.
relevant. So that's the general process. It's just like finding good keywords that you can rank in the top 10 for. And that takes a little bit of creativity to think of what to search for. Like you have to kind of get in the mind of your user. Like what kinds of things would they be searching for? Whether it's your exact product or maybe it's like related in some way. So
Right. So
yeah.
that the actual page is the users would also be interested in your product, which you'll share at the bottom of the article or link to it somehow.
Yeah, exactly. We've all seen other people do that, right? When we're searching for info on Google, like you'll always see, oh,
Yeah.
this, yeah. So that's the name of the game. Yeah.
And in terms of domain authority, is that mainly driven by like backlinks of how many people are linking to you? Is there anything else that people should consider there?
Yeah. So it's mostly determined by backlinks. It's like the quantity, but also the quality. So
Yeah.
if you have like Time Magazine, who has a domain rating of 90 or something, and they're linking to you, that's gonna up your authority. So it doesn't really help to get a ton of low quality ones. But they don't hurt. Like any backlink is helpful.
Right.
Yeah. And so I don't know, my advice for indies and bootstrap companies is I usually just for my strategies, it's like just start with the content and start with the keywords that are currently in your ballpark. Because there's always a sweet spot. You can always find something that's like in your realm for the most part. Versus like starting with backlink building, because that's just like, it's like cold outreach, and or you're paying an agency to do it for you, and like I feel like it's hard to know if the backlinks you get are good, if they're gonna last. It just feels kind of like, it almost feels like paying for followers on Instagram or something. Like, you know how you can,
Right.
there's companies, sorry to burst anyone's bubble, but there's companies that will do that. You pay to get followers. So it kind of feels like that. So I don't usually recommend that, although I know people do it and it works. It's like, I would rather spend the effort or your money or resources on like developing the content, and then the backlinks sort of come with time.
Right.
It's one reason why I do like interviews like this, because I know you have a website and you're going to link hopefully to Harold or in my site through there. So I feel like by just a nature of running your business, you end up getting
Right.
links anyways, if you're doing the right things and talking about it publicly. And so I'm not a big like backlink builder person. I think the backlinks will come. Like Product Hunt also, if you launch on Product Hunt, that's a good way to get backlinks. Any
Yeah.
like public forum, like if you're at Reddit talking about although I know they don't like links very well, or if you're answering questions on Quora.
Yeah.
So if there's any backlink building, I would do it that way, like kind
Yeah.
of just getting your product on public forums, indie hackers,
Yeah.
that sort of thing,
Yeah.
versus like hiring someone to cold outreach and get you random links. Yeah, it doesn't seem that.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I get emails even sometimes from those types of agencies
Yeah.
where it's also clear that they don't really know if it's a good fit, or like it's very, you know, like a form letter kind of that they send of like, oh, let us write a blog post for you type thing.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sure there's ways that you can do it well. Like, and honestly, if someone did email me and it was highly relevant and they wrote it really personalized and it was like clear that it made sense, like I would probably be pretty open to it. But
Yeah.
so maybe that says something. But yeah, I mean, I agree. It's I've never really put the effort into backlinks. I don't think my domain authority is like amazing the last time I checked, but I think
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I need to check. But I agree with you. I think what you're saying about focusing on like what you can control, kind of, I think
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, totally. Are you in terms of writing SEO articles, do you have a stance on using AI to do that, or what you yeah, 'cause I could imagine that's becoming more and more popular, or something people might be thinking about as they're thinking about content.
Yeah, that's another great question, because there's a lot happening there. I don't think I'm an expert, and it's so hard to predict what's going to happen, but where it is right now, I think it definitely helps having AI in the loop with
Yeah,
content writing for SEO. So and just meaning like you're using it in some way, but you're not having it do everything for you.
right.
Although I know, I don't know what his name is, but someone on Twitter is working on like a fully automated SEO service. So I'm curious to see how that turns out. But
I interviewed
yeah.
the founder of Byword, Mac. I don't know if that's who you're thinking of, but he's building a service that does that. It's actually built with Bubble, so it's a no code
Oh,
tool. But
cool.
maybe there might be multiple
I might have
products doing
used
it.
this at one point. But yeah, any of these tools like Byword or I use Phrase,
Uh-huh.
Frase. Any of these like SEO tools will probably, if it's a good one, will probably have some sort of AI
Mm.
functionality, which is helpful. So like Phrase, for me, where I write my articles, it basically scrapes the top 10 results and
Yep.
then pulls out all the headings and keywords and things. And then as you write, it kind of gives you a score based on like how much of those same topics and things you're covering. And so like step one is just to make
I
sure
see.
your
Yeah.
content at least covers everything that everyone else has covered. Uh, that's in the search results, because obviously Google's already determined like these are good pages for this result. So you want to like at least cover what they've covered, and then the challenge is like adding something new. So for that first part, just covering what other people have covered, AI is really good at that, right?
Yeah.
And Phrase even has a feature where it can outline it for you, and it could even write it for you, although I don't use that.
Yeah.
But you could. And sometimes when clients are really just want like a ton of pages and don't really care about quality as much, we'll lean on that more. But then becomes the problem of like you have to make it unique in some way. You have to not only match those results that are already ranking, but beat them in some way with a creative spin or better laid out page, or just like better content or better hook at the beginning, maybe like. And so that's where the human part comes in. And I think AI is not quite there yet. But it probably will be soon, or like as we're speaking. But I haven't fully relied on it yet. I'm still doing a lot of things manually because it's what gets the results. And I can't really guarantee that the AI written ones will get the same results.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. That makes complete sense. I've also been using it more in the loop. And I think
Yeah.
it makes sense to do that because it's just going to help you work more quickly and effectively. Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, I guess we're all kind of learning in real time about how AI is, how much we can use and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. But so any tool, but you should at least be using any tool that's at least like scraping current
Yes.
content and like kind of telling you what to include and that sort of thing. That's
Got
probably like
it.
bare minimum. Yeah.
And that's phrase.ai. Phrase AI is a good one to check out for that.
Yeah. And I'm sure Byword does this too. And I'm sure there's a bunch of other ones.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't heard of phrase, so I'm definitely gonna check it out.
Yeah.
And I guess quickly on SEO, and then I have a couple other questions about just more entrepreneurial things. So if
Yeah.
someone wants to work with you, um, how does it work typically? Who's the ideal kind of client? And yeah, yeah, in terms of output, like, are you doing it all for them? Is it more consulting? Kind of, what do they get out of it?
Yeah. Great question. So the target person, it's really like anyone on Twitter, like any in our sort of like, what do you call it, that space of Twitter? Like it's like tech Twitter, like founder Twitter or maker
Yeah,
Twitter. Like all of my clients have come from Twitter. So like
yeah,
that's the target customer. Like anyone who's on there building products. Um yeah, so whether they're like super beginner, it's their first one, or I've worked with a client who is already making like tons and tons of money off his like affiliate site. So could be any range, but like the sort of in that like maker entrepreneurial game.
yeah,
Um and then how it works, I mean, I'm in the process of putting up a website where it kind of like describes my offerings, and you could even like pay on the website like to get
mhm,
started. That's work in progress, but up until now it's just been like referrals, like people DM me and they're like, hey, I saw like this, you did this for this person. Like what is like, how do I do that, or like what does it look like? And I'll just send them a quote and like the scope of work and that stuff. So it's been like sort of manual. um and then but most people start with this like audit and strategy package.
mhm,
So I'm not really writing any content yet. We're just doing the keyword research, like we talked about, like looking at their current domain rating, looking at keyword research, and like determining a strategy. Like, is the best way forward to just like optimize your existing pages, or write like these individual blog posts, or maybe there's like a programmatic SEO opportunity, or
yeah,
maybe there's an opportunity to like, people are calling it like linkable tools or like linkable assets. So maybe you can create a free tool that
Mm.
will rank for a keyword, and then that tool can link to you. So it's like forming that strategy, like what's the game plan? And
Yeah.
then I usually say, like, I let them review it, and it's like, if you like the game plan and you want to execute it, like some people can do it themselves, like they want to write it or they already have writers. Um, and so they kind of just like run and implement everything themselves, and then they report back. Um, Other times, like I'll give them a quote on like, I can help you write content as well. And so we can kind of develop like a custom content package, which is usually like, we're trying to write like one article a week or something like that.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's all like custom and it looks different. So people just reach out and like I kind of meet them where they are. We like figure something out. Yeah.
Got it. Cool. That makes sense. So it's not, it depends on the company and their needs and things like that.
Yeah. And how big their site is. Like some people already have tons of content. So then the audit is bigger. It takes me longer to
Right.
go through everything. But some people like just have a couple blog posts. They're just getting started. So
Got
it
it. Got
depends.
it.
Yeah.
Cool. No, yeah, that makes complete sense. So, so shifting gears a little bit, or actually kind of going off of what you were saying about how you got all of your clients off Twitter, I think that's super interesting. So,
Yeah.
yeah, if you could talk a little bit about, build maybe it's building in public or, getting clients off Twitter. How has that worked for you? And is there like a strategy that you're following, or is it kind of just being yourself and it's kind of worked out? How has that worked for you?
Yeah, I think it's the latter. Like I've pretty much just tried to like be myself and be um real and just yeah, I like building in public as well.
Yeah,
Um from the start. I mean, like Marie from Llama Life, like she really started everything because she was like the first person to hire me. I'd only done it for my side project. I didn't have a lot of case studies yet.
yeah,
And she just like trusted me and was like my first client. So I like am very grateful for her for doing that. And the only reason that happened was just yeah, like through Twitter and like building in public and making friends. Like we had DM'd a few times because she has a productivity app and mine's sort of like habit. And I just like liked what she was doing. And so we chatted in the DMs a few times. And then yeah, she just like reached out when she needed help. So it was like really organic. And then since then, there's just this really nice flywheel because um, I have a client, a project, they end up making some changes or we write content and then like they start getting clicks and impressions. And so you grab that screenshot, tweet it out, and then other people see it and they're like, I want that too. And then they reach
right.
out. And so now I'm kind of in this really nice growth flywheel that's working really well. But it took time because even after the Llama Life project, it took 8 months to really see the full results where you're
Yeah.
like, because SEO takes some time. So there was kind of a lag as I was waiting for those results to show. But now that I have that to point to and a few others, it's like really starting to pick up.
Yeah, yeah. There's really nothing more convincing than like the results, right?
Right.
Especially for something like SEO. Like if you're showing results, then that's going to be super convincing for people for sure. And outside of doing
Yeah.
that, is there anything? I mean, just scrolling on your Twitter and I see your tweets. You definitely tweet. Um, I think you do a really good job of just tweeting general thoughts, I think, and kind of uh,
Mm-hmm.
I don't really do a good job at that. I used to focus a little bit more on it, but yeah, do you think that has an impact of like, obviously you're posting your results, but then other things you're kind of just posting about everything else you're building or your thoughts. And do you think that helps build kind of trust as well?
Yeah, that's a good call out. I definitely have been trying to do more of just the like off the cuff thoughts or just try to like get rid of this like weird Twitter voice. Like it's almost getting into like a LinkedIn cringe, like
Yeah.
And I'm just like, that's not how I talk. So why am I writing like that? And
Yeah.
I feel like Peter Levels does this really well. He just kind of tweets in his natural voice. There's a few other makers. Uh, uh, it's so I can never remember anyone's name because it's just their handles. But
Right.
Rock's codes, like he's really natural and funny.
Mm.
Uh, and so the past year or so I've tried to like embrace that style a little more. So it's nice that you picked up on that on the timeline, but I still catch myself like writing these sort of like markety tweets. And like sometimes you have to do it because I am trying to show those results and get more
Right.
clients, but I try to make it a little bit more natural. Yeah, like just got this DM from a client, with a screenshot. That's a little bit. Um, so yeah, if anything, the strategy is just trying to remind myself to be more like real and natural and not like
Right. Like
sound
how
like
would you
everybody
actually
else.
text a friend or something as opposed to uh
Yeah.
yeah, like I know exactly what you mean with LinkedIn and Twitter and um
Yeah. There's like a cringe level to be avoided.
yeah,
And then I also try to tweet like once a day.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
So that's
intentional
a little,
in terms of building the brand and building Twitter to kind of try and do that.
yeah. So I'll use like Typefully
Yep.
to write my tweets. And then like if I already had a tweet that day, maybe I'll schedule it for the next day.
Right.
And so I'll like have them, yeah, a few scheduled out to try to like keep my streak going.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. No, that yeah,
That's
that
about
makes
all I do. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, even I mean, it's it makes sense, and I mean, obviously, it's working since you're getting, clients from Twitter. I mean, I'm pretty sure that I originally heard about Harold off of Twitter. Probably, I'm trying to think where else I
Probably
would have heard about it.
like
Um,
Product Hunt or Twitter. Yeah,
yeah,
probably.
totally.
Yeah.
I mean, and even this podcast, I was, last week I'm trying to invest more time in the podcast and reach out to more people. And then I saw you tweet. I saw you on Twitter. I was like, oh, okay. Let me see if Kyleigh wants to do it. So
Yeah.
uh,
I
it
think
it's yeah,
I think that's the other thing is like using DMs. Uh like I think for a while I wasn't really in the DMs, but like that's like one thing to be like tweeting and but like you actually want to use it to like build relationships too. And like I think that's how
right.
I ended up getting that thing with Marie. We had just chatted with no expectations. Like I wasn't trying to get her to upvote my product hunt launch or get her to sign up for my thing. We were just chatting. So I think like that's another maybe not strategy, but just thing I do on there is just try to like connect with people. And if they ask me questions, like respond and just being like, just engaging with people. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point. The DM to Zoom like pipeline is
Mm-hmm.
underrated probably in terms
Yeah.
of just connecting with just about anyone who's on Twitter.
Yeah, totally. Like I think Marie and I got on a couple Zooms just to chat before like there was any talk of us like working together or anything. So yeah, those are always fun if you can make time
Yeah,
for those.
yeah, totally. Cool. So we are running out of time. Is there anything else that you want to share about what you're working on or where people can find you? I'll definitely link, like the different everything we talked about, like Harold and the guide to SEO and things like that below. But yeah, what else should people know about you or where to find you?
I think we covered it. Like I'm on Twitter. That's the main place. I just hope Twitter stays fun and normal. Like it just stays what it is because it's just so fun and valuable. And I love like all the
Yeah,
people on there that are working on such cool stuff. So yeah, you can DM me. My DMs are open. If you have questions about anyone has questions about SEO, um, yeah, hit me up.
awesome. Cool. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is super fun.
Thanks so much for listening. I really enjoyed this interview and I hope you did as well. If you want to build your own no-code products, check out nocode.mba and use the promo code podcast10 for 10% off your no-code MBA membership. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode.